to stand up tall and proud. I want you to speak up clear and loud. Brown baby.
In a world overrun with the fake, delusional, and disingenuous, he stands as a beacon of truth. He is Abuki Cabal. You are listening to Abuki Cabal.
Welcome to the Abuki Cabal Show.
What's going on, everybody? Hopefully I've got my technical issues out of the way and my audio is louder and better. You're better able to listen to it. If you guys like the show, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe the content. Hit that notification button. Today, I want to talk about the Andrew Tate situation and this idea about toxic masculinity and how it's so detrimental to the way America does things, the way the world is basically run. It just seems as if there are forces at work that are trying to destroy everything that is masculine. I think back to my childhood and I think back watching things like 007, other TV shows, where women were feminine, men were men. You didn't see all of these characterizations of these effeminate men on TV, in movies. You just didn't see that, I tend to like, pictures of, the models in the past who were, like cheesecake models, models from, black and white movies from the 40s, 50s, 60s. You look at the way women were dressed then, it was a lot more appealing, and these women were not doormats. These women were feminine. They stood up for themselves, but, it was not in a way that was detrimental to a woman being in a relationship, or being able to communicate effectively with a man. So, time moves on today and we have our problems with the way men and women interact nowadays. We went through the time where, if a man even, tried to talk to a woman, or either if he looked at a woman, or if he even, wrote her a text message, or, contacted her through her DMs, and he was thirsty, something that is as natural as breathing. How are men and women supposed to get together in order to get to know each other, to move on to relationships and possibly marriage, if at every turn, any little interaction, If you think a woman is attractive, you're thirsty. If you leave a note for a woman, hey, give me a call, you're thirsty. If you do anything in the way of trying to get a woman's get attention, you're thirsty. It's looked upon in a negative way. So now men have stopped approaching. So now women are saying that the men are soft because they won't approach the women. You're weak, because you won't approach the women. So you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. Now you got the passport bros situation, and guys are going out. I don't want to make this seem like passport bros is a new thing. This has been going on ever since World War II. I did some articles from the Jet where they talked about the reasons that these guys were marrying German women, marrying Japanese women, because these women were more feminine than the women in the States. Now, even though women were feminine during that time, these women from the other cultures were even more feminine, which I take to mean that back then the women would cook for you, they would do things for you, but they still had that hot mouth. They had that hot mouth, and they were going to talk to you crazy and demean you and all of that. You'd still get to eat, and you'd still, get to interact with them on their terms. It's changed throughout each era, but it's always been there. And when we, as men, say things about it, we get a lot of pushback. Women, and I say women, and this applies to the women who have a problem with this, not all women. And, grown people should not have to specify that when you're in a conversation. See, if men were talking about this and we said women, blah, 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 we know the women that we're talking about. But for some reason, when you do that and women are in the conversation, they always say, well, I don't know any women like that. So thus, these women don't exist. They basically dismiss our interactions with these women who they've never seen. They don't know. They're not in their circle of friends. All the excuses that are given about how these women don't exist. You could be talking to a woman who exhibits this behavior, and she will not even feel like she is being talked about, even though she exhibits all of the categories that you're talking about. So there's a disconnect that's there. I watched I was on a TikTok panel tonight, and, I saw this guy, talking to the panel of women, and every single one of them said they didn't know women like that. Some of them said that, yeah, they had been listening to, some of the things about the passport bros and whatnot, but the majority of them still, felt this impact on them personally when you talked about a certain type of woman and, how men felt about their interactions with these women. So it would bring these conversations to a stopping point. And then you have to basically capitulate to this woman and basically say, well, I really wasn't talking about you. But there are types of women that are out there. You have to baby her into, back into the conversation so that she can be, talk about this situation. But as the conversations went on, there was a woman who called in that said, clearly, there is a problem with these younger women and even some of the older women, and then you had some women saying, well, it's this younger generation. No, it's not. I had a coworker who was in her 60s that was saying the very same things that some of these young women were saying. She's had several chances to be married, but she basically uses man to man to man for her immediate needs. And then when she's talking to me, she's like, I wish, I had a man like you that did all the things that he does for his wife. But you've had that, but you just didn't want it. So now that you're old, you think you should have these things, but you've treated these men like crap up to the point to where you are right now. And then I listened to some of the conversations about how she treated her grandson. Her grandson got caught in the house with a girl, and he tried to basically con her into, thinking everything was okay and that she could leave and go back to work, and it turns out she looked around the house and I guess the girl was under the bed or something like that. She was hiding somewhere in the house and she caught her. So then because of that, she beat the boy mercilessly and then basically said she was going to take her hands off of him and that she didn't want to have nothing else to do with him. So this boy doing something that is natural, interacting with trying to be involved with a girl. I mean, he was old. I mean, he was a teenager. So this is what you expect from teenagers. But just by him, I guess not doing exactly what she said, she wanted to basically destroy this kid. And even the way she talked about it, it was like, how dare you bring a woman up in my house? But it's like, you're a woman. You have done some of the same things. You have no compassion about what's going on with this kid. And then on top of that, you have to move on and still mold this kid into a good kid so that he can go out and take care of himself and be effective in navigating the world after he becomes grown. But all you can think about is revenge and punishment, and you guys know what I mean. When you piss a black woman off, she's only going to cool off when she feels like she has destroyed enough, inflicted enough pain. Then she'll cool off. But she's never going to let you forget about it, even though, you've paid for it, through blood and pain. But anyway, I digress. I think I've gone too long with this, but you know where I'm getting to. So basically through all of these things, we get to a point where now, Andrew Tate talks about some of these things. He's been trying to, lead these young guys in a direction that is going to be beneficial to them, to understand the nature of women, and realize that you can't control that, but you can control yourself and how you react to it, So, I've listened to Tate for a little while. He said some things that I really didn't care about in the beginning, but then, he came around and there's some of the things that he said up until the point to where he got arrested were spot on. Some of the things that he did with Brittany Reiner, spot on. When he talked about these women who basically brush these guys off while they're in school trying to get themselves together. And then later on, they want to come to this guy, when he's older and he's got his money, he's got his life together, and he's got women, the women of his choice because he has his money together, he has his life together, he has his house together, all of that. Then they want this man to start, act settling down and catering to women and all this kind of stuff. And he basically says, fuck you. I'm not going to do that. Why should I do that? You didn't do that when you were, at your hottest, when you were at your top of the marketplace value. You were out there basically having sex and living wild and doing all of these things. But now when you get old, you want a man to settle down when he's in his prime. And it just doesn't work that way. And he basically says, like we all say, the younger the woman is, the more valuable she is to a man. She's more attractive. She's more malleable. She's easier to work with. She's easier to talk to. She's interested in you. As the woman gets older, she may be attractive, but she's bored. She's boring. She doesn't really, you got to do things to kind of impress her, but she's seen everything. She's done everything. She's had all the good sex and all of that. Now, a penis is a penis is a penis for her, so it's just not, it's not a good experience. It's not like, fireworks and where the woman is excited to see you. She feels like she wants to be with you. I mean, she's basically doing everything she can. She's putting forth all of this effort, to prove that she is, somebody that you should want to spend, a lot of time with, and not just sexual. She wants to be with, she loves you, immeasurably. And at that point, when we're older, we're a little more tempered. We're not as dumb as we were when we were young. When we were leading basically you could lead us around by, our sexual feelings during the time. Well, Tate's spot on about that as well. So when he's talking about these things, a lot of women, a lot of older women, a lot of, women's studies people and feminists have gotten up in arms about it because they feel that Tate is having too much influence on the children and that this is just a bad thing. We should not, have to, endure this. Tate may pollute the next generation somehow by, these things that he's saying. They're not dealing with the, the facts of what he's saying, any of the statistics about what he's saying, the reality of what he's saying. They just want it to stop. They want it to go away. Tired of Tate, basically, contaminating the children. So these UK schools are developing lessons to re-educate the teens brainwashed by Andrew Tate's misogynistic content. That just sounds ominous, doesn't it? You got to re-educate the boys because, of this toxic masculinity that Tate has instilled in them, in their brains. This reminds me of, when Barbara Walters was basically talking to Sean Connery and asking him why he didn't want to play golf with women. Why can't women be in the country club spaces, in these men's spaces? And pretty much these women invaded these men's spaces in order to make us start thinking about things in a different way. Pretty much you got to a point where there was nowhere you could be where you weren't in a woman's presence. We're seeing that that's having detrimental effects in the gym where women are going in there scantily clad, and then saying that you are some kind of creep because you're looking at them. I don't know any man, who's not going to look at a woman who is scantily clad, with her cheeks all out, and breast all out, and stomach all out. She's barely clothed in the gym doing all kind of sexual stuff that really isn't building anything. And she's walking all in front of the guy with a camera saying, watch, I'm going to make all of them look at me. And once they look at me, I'm going to expose that they're all creeps. Their very nature is creepy. That's what you got going on, Same thing. They fought to be in the locker rooms. Now they're in the locker rooms. Hell, you can't play a football game without seeing, a woman on the sideline, woman in the locker room, woman in the press box. She's up there commentating about it. And who watches the most football? Us. You got people out here trying to force people to watch the WNBA, but nobody likes it. Nobody cares about the WNBA. Nobody. It's not exciting. Even women don't find it exciting. So there's a movement to force a belief system into women and men that things should be a certain way. And when men fight against it and say, I really don't want to have any part of that, then somehow you are a problem. And it's funny how every time a man says this, that they systematically get rid of him. If you start talking to them, speaking up about men's rights and reforming some of these laws so that they're not so harsh against men, they start talking about the patriarchy. And they talk about it in such a basic sense. They don't know anything about the true history of what they consider to be patriarchal. The black community is matriarchal. I mean, and it can be proven over and over and over. The evidence is completely out there. You know, to an extent, the white community is also matriarchal, because every time white men went out to go do something, conquer something, whatever, they did it for their women. You know, and there were a number of times when the women wanted somebody killed, they were killed. When they wanted somebody tortured, they were tortured. You know, a woman got John the Baptist's head cut off. So, let's go on with this article though. But, you know, it says the teachers at a school in South London decided to give a presentation to a group of 14-year-olds after learning that some of the students were expressing opinions they had learned from Tate. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this. So here we got the article here. And let's take a listen to what they have to say about this.
UK, schools developing lessons to re-educate teens brainwashed by Andrew Tate's misogynistic content. London, UK, school teachers in the United Kingdom are developing a special syllabus to re-educate teenage students who have been brainwashed by the misogynistic content created by the jailed influencer, Andrew Tate. According to a report in the Sunday Times, Tate, who was recently taken into custody in Romania on charges of rape and sex trafficking charges, has had a toxic effect on teens who have embraced his hateful ideology, forcing teachers to address his views with their students. Teachers at a school in South London decided to give a presentation to a group of 14-year-olds after learning that some of the students were expressing opinions they had learned from Tate, a self-described misogynist with a sizable online following made up primarily of young men. Questions like, do we think he, Tate, is still harmless? And what happens when we take in his messages were reportedly posed to the group of about 30 students. Also read, meet Andrew Tate, king of toxic masculinity, detained in Romania on human trafficking charges. The discussion, however, turned into a rape debate, with about 10 students claiming that women were to blame for their sexual assaults, a viewpoint promoted by Tate. After that, the male instructor questioned the students' reactions if a member of their family had been raped. It was concerning that a few core students didn't change their tone and continued to say they would be to blame. The teacher, who spoke anonymously to the newspaper, said, "At that point, a lot of the boys changed their tones when I put their mother or sister in that spot." The former kickboxer, reality TV star, and 36-year-old is thought to be worth up to $100 million. He has gained enormous popularity as a hypermasculine life guru who encourages men to treat women like commodities in online videos, in exchange for a fee.
Is that right? So you see how they're basically characterizing Tate as some type of monster who's out here basically telling people to treat women as commodities and basically just, misuse women. He's not saying that. He's basically saying that, if you are in a situation with a woman, make sure that you know what you're doing, know what you're dealing with, and how to deal with them. And if they are doing something that you don't like, get rid of them. That's not a commodity. That's the way it is. If you're around somebody who is not doing something that you feel like they should be doing, and you're in a relationship with them, you get rid of the relationship. Name me one woman out here who has not left a man because she felt like he wasn't doing something that she wanted him to do. And then after that, she tells every woman, and every woman empathizes with her. Sympathizes with her situation. And without any proof, she rubber stamps it and puts it out to the rest of the world. They all carry each other's bags to the next potential person, just like a virus. They go out with these stories. You have women out here pissed off at men for things that they've never experienced themselves. And these women now trying to manipulate these young boys by saying, well, what if it was your mom? What if it was your sister? And you don't even know the circumstances of what it is. And I'm sure they act as if there are no circumstances where the person cannot be responsible for what happens to them. And Tate advocates for personal responsibility. you know that if you go into a room full of zombies, you're going to get bit, right? If you go in a room full of zombies without any protective clothing on, you'll get bit easier and faster. You'll be contaminated. So, if you go into a gym and you're scantily clad, you're going to be looked at. If you are, say, a TikTok model or whatever, and then you're out, with your cheeks all out and you're dressed like a schoolgirl, and then people tell you hey, you need to get away from here with all of that. There's kids out here and all of that, you don't think that these people are within their rights to say, hey, they don't want, this type of behavior to be going on out here. So there are a number of things that can happen that women think that they're entitled to do, but might put them in harm's way, or might be a bad reflection of the community that they're doing it in. But it seems like women are always trying to find a way to excuse this behavior away. You should be able to do anything that you want to do without any consequences, because the world will always excuse your actions. But that's not the real world.
He also boasts about his wealth and divulges his secrets to success. He claims in his videos, which have been widely shared on TikTok and other platforms, that women belong in the kitchen and should be controlled by men through violence. Sophie Whitehead, a consent workshop facilitator at the School of Sexuality Education, called his rhetoric violent and said it affected so many young people.
Show the rhetoric that you say is violent. Show it. All over TikTok, there's videos of a scene of Tate basically using a belt and beating this woman. Well, this was a staged event. Okay. But they acting like this is how Tate treats all of his women. And there are tons of women who go to his compound, want to be around. If you're at the compound and they don't feel like you need to be there, they will, have you leave. They will have someone drive you home. They will make sure that you get away from the premises safely. Okay. But these other women who basically, after they have turned in their 304 cards, after they've done all of this stuff as young women, then they forget about that aspect of their life, that groupie aspect of their life. And then they're all good and wholesome. And then they just can't understand why these women are all around these types of men when they did the same thing when they were young. Or you have another scenario where they're the types of women who are basically never in those areas because they just didn't have the body for it or the attitude for it. And they were like average women, but they felt like they should have been around these other men because they just don't understand that they are not in the type of category to where they will be afforded certain interactions with certain types of men. So they're jealous of these situations. So they basically take it out on the men as well. They're jealous of the women, and then they take out their anger and vitriol on the man who is basically able to get these women, these 9s and 10s and, and whatnot. So you have this 1 or 2 situations that's going on, and, these teachers are like nerdy teachers. So, you probably got to have an idea of the type of person who is trying to basically, re-educate these boys, And didn't the Germans try to re-educate people and put people in like camps to basically reshape their views on stuff? I'm sure that was those were tactics that the United States and the Allies back in the day would fight against, but I guess not now. But let's move on.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a form of radicalization, said Sophie Whitehead, who works at the School of Sexuality Education, which offers consent workshops. According to the report, teachers in the South London classrooms have made an effort to explain to their students how offensive rhetoric and jokes about women can develop into serious crimes like rape and sexual harassment. According to Jay Jordan,
okay, so automatically, if you make jokes about women, then it's going to lead into some type of criminal behavior. Show me the statistics on that. Show me these instances where, these kids, because I mean, as far as I know, I mean, I'm sure you guys go back and you think about, your school days and whatnot on the playground and how much, kids mess with each other, talked about girls and all this kind of stuff. How many of those kids grew up to be, criminals and are chasing women up and down the street? How many of them just grew out of that and just became regular old folks, just like most people do? Girls tease men too, How many of them are we going to say, hey, they grew up, this leads to some type of, criminal behavior? You notice that how anytime they talk about a man, if he's doing something that they don't like, then they try to associate that with some type of criminal behavior, especially with black men. The criminality of black men is just constantly being glued on to us from a young age, like a paper mache coating. And it comes from every direction. It comes from black women. It comes from white men. It comes from white women, every direction. And then the white folks tell the foreign people who come over here that basically the black folks are beneath you. Don't hang out with them because then it'll bring down your social status. And that's the way it goes, And these kids, they think that all of that stuff is past tense, so they don't have to listen to it. So they've got a fresh crop of naive individuals that they can exploit. But that's going in a whole nother direction. But the same thing is going on here. These women are trying to exploit these children into not thinking on their own, but thinking what they want them to think, making them vulnerable to exploitation by women. The very exploitation that Tate talks about, how these women are going out saying a man has to make $650,000 a year just to be able to date her, to even possibly marry her. And she doesn't have a dime. She's in college, taking some sort of education that's going to lead to some mediocre earnings. But the guy, and this is all kinds of women. You got ugly women. You got average women. You have super cute women. They all say the same thing. You got to be making over $100,000. And now that $100,000 has even gone up even higher. Abba and Preach had a girl on there that said $650,000 to be able to date her, to even talk to her. But you're telling these boys that they shouldn't listen to Tate. And Tate has never said, not in a realistic way, that you should go out and do anything harmful to a woman. Okay? But he does say, know your worth. He does say, don't let a woman basically exploit you and manipulate you into doing things that you don't want to do, into wasting your life, into, grinding yourself into nothing, working for a woman who doesn't appreciate you, who doesn't cook, doesn't clean, isn't a helpmate to you. She thinks having babies is like the worst thing that can possibly happen to her. These are the things that women say who don't want to grow up. It's like, Cinderella, laying up in the bed. She doesn't want to wake up from the dream where she's a princess, and that's what you see with these women out here. By and large, they're all saying the same thing. They all want the same thing, and it's an unrealistic lifestyle. And it's the Disney princess lifestyle. You see it all over the place. You see it from black girls. You see it from white girls. You see it from these modern women in the United States. And that's why you have passport bros. That's why you have Andrew Tate. That's why you had Kevin Samuels. That's why you have these men popping up. And every time you whack one down, another one will pop up. This is not going away. It never will go away. And these guys out here, when these guys come up and they speak out, for the majority of these guys, support these guys. Don't be like these other guys who are going out saying that basically you're weak because, you know, you're going out and you're getting a passport or you're not dealing with women who are difficult. Basically what Tate is saying is basically don't chase the rabbit. You're greyhound, you're on the track, but don't chase the rabbit. If you don't chase the rabbit, you're no good to them. So then you can go do what you want to do, right? You can go be a dog. But if you chase the rabbit, you're going to run and run and run until you die. And pretty much that is the life of a man. You can sit up and if a man imprints on a woman, he will work forever trying to impress that woman, trying to bring things to her to show that he is worthy, even after he's married her. And then one day that woman might say, you know what? He's just not ambitious enough. You know, he just doesn't have the dreams that I think he should have. And basically all that means is just that she's bored. She wants to get out there and see if she's still attractive. She wants to go and get with some younger guys or see if she can get the attention of younger guys, you know. And then when the grass isn't greener on the other side, she'll come back to you because you're the sure thing, you know. But these women like Pookies and Ray Rays, and all they're good for is penis. They don't have to bring the things that you bring, like money, you know, like a big house, you know, a nice car for her. You know, she doesn't really have to work, but she does work. And if she does work, she keeps her money, you know. You notice that your money is their money and their money is their money. You know how many times that is? That is the, you know, is the equation that men are having to deal with. You think that's beneficial to men? I don't think so. But let's move on.
Teacher from Dundee, Scotland. Recent interest in Tate's influence is visible among her students. Because the boys never stop talking about Andrew Tate. She said, you used to have to deal with sexist stuff, but now it is explicitly connected to him. Jordan recalled how one of her students retaliated by calling her just a woman after she reprimanded him. We've definitely gone backwards, and it's concerning, she said. A female teacher at another British school reported to the newspaper that some students disregarded their final exams because they believed they could make money online, as did Andrew Tate. Tate's rise to notoriety has been covered in lessons by the Ridgeway Education Trust, which runs 3 public schools in Oxfordshire. Gahar Khan, the Trust's director of ethos, said, every school should be addressing.
Okay. Now with that part, you know, I feel like, yeah, there should be some intervention in there. You gotta have some time to kind of be a kid. You need to, you know, do your tests. You need to do your schoolwork and all of that stuff. You know, that's where I have to, you know, take a stand and say, hey, these young boys are not being realistic and trying to say that they're going to go out and be a social media influencer because Tate is. Now you're being stupid. No, now you're being stupid because now you're not trying to educate yourself. You know, you're trying to go out here and be a social media phenomenon. And, you know, that's Disney princess thinking too. And if I was your dad, I'd tell you the same thing. You're being stupid. Because in truth, a man has to have a primary, secondary, and tertiary plan for everything. Jobs, you know, every aspect of his life so that he can have a backup plan, especially black guys. Have a background plan for whatever situation that occurs. Always. And the way you do that is get your education. If you've got a job, you know, always have a second job in the wind, you know. Have an occupation where you are sought after. And do whatever it is that you're doing for yourself and not for a woman. Sorry, you know. And if you do get a woman, she has to be everything that you want. And don't, you know, start backtracking on the things that you want in that relationship. If you want a woman that cooks and cleans and all of that, and who's attractive, now you got to stand on that and say, hey, this is the way you are. This is what you're going to have to maintain. And, this is how we're going to deal with each other. And the minute that it changes, we're going to have to renegotiate. I know women don't like that, but that's what they do to us. That's what y'all do to us. So, I think sounds fair to me. But let's move on.
The Tate issue. Up until last year, I was hesitant to give him publicity. But students and staff have approached me and asked why we aren't talking about this, she said. In the lessons, according to Khan, they cover why Tate has been in the news lately. For his arrest in Romania on charges of human trafficking and accusations of rape. Our students are hearing all of this, and I feel that they need to hear it from what I feel are reliable sources, he continued. Tate's first foray into the spotlight occurred in 2016 when he participated as a contestant on Big Brother in the UK, from where he was disqualified after he allegedly assaulting a woman. Tate claimed the video was edited and a total lie, trying to make me look bad, according to the BBC. Tate was banned from Twitter in 2017 at the height of the Harvey Weinstein allegations for suggesting that women should bear responsibility for being sexually assaulted. With outrageous remarks about...
Okay, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? If you know that there's and this may be controversial, but if you know that there's a casting couch and you know the casting couch is in there, I as a man, I'm not going in there. If somebody told me that, hey, I got to give up the cheeks, for me to get this acting role, and then I give up the cheeks for the acting role. And then I get, some Oscars and a whole bunch of roles. And then I come back when I'm 30 and Hollywood doesn't want me anymore. And I tell about the casting couch, but I neglect to say that I, made the choice to engage in this activity with this individual in a quid pro quo situation. I say that basically it was forced. That somehow relieves these people of agency. And what do we see? I mean, even in this Me Too stuff, we see every time it's as if these people just have a total hard drive wipe, and they don't know what they're doing. Even though they're of age, they don't know that they're engaging in this illicit, behavior. And that I guess they don't know when they leave that they have a job, that somehow that was a magical thing that happened. I mean, how much are we supposed to dismiss in this situation? You do have a choice a lot of time, unless a dude comes and knocks you over the head and you're unconscious. You have the option to fight. You have the option to leave, especially if you're in a casting type situation. I mean, that's what we're talking about, these hypothetical situations now. Okay. Now if you're in a situation where somebody does, take advantage of you, using the R word, then okay, fine. Then you go and you press charges, and there's a protocol for that to happen. But there are all kinds of excuses being made why this protocol isn't being taken advantage of, why you don't go and report it to the police, why you don't do this, why you don't do that. And then you have women from every age group, every era, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all these women will come out and they're all saying the same thing. Basically hang the guy, hang him, without any evidence, anything. You got women out here saying that the passport bros are pedophiles with no evidence of any criminal activity taking place. Okay. You got people up here saying that Tate is out here trafficking women. Where are the women? Where's the evidence? He hasn't even been to trial yet. They froze the man's assets. They kicked him off Twitter. Supposed to be a free speech is supposed to be a thing. There are people out here saying things that are 10 times worse than what Tate was saying, but he's off the air. You had people trying to silence Kevin Samuels, and they only stuck on certain things that they thought that they heard him say, Not what he actually said. Not how many people he helped. Not how many men that he helped to actually see that the situations that they were in were not good for them. I wonder how many married guys listen to to Kevin and, basically snapped out of their whole situation and started saying, hey, I've been bamboozled here. I'm sitting up doing all of this stuff for somebody that don't appreciate me. But if a woman says that, okay, I'm in a situation where a person doesn't appreciate me, she's well within her rights to leave that situation and to talk about that man and to make all kinds of statements about that man. But if a man does it, he's the scum of the earth. And here's what we see. Every time something like that happens, they drag that man through the mud before he ever gets to a trial. But by the time he gets to the trial, he's already convicted. I don't think people even take into consideration the effect that social media has. A story that's being told, it'll be told 1,000 times by the time this guy, probably 1,000,000 times by the time the person gets to trial. And by that time, everybody's tainted. Everybody will believe that this person is guilty. And it's happened time and time again. But these people don't care. All they care about is they want these men to do exactly what they want them to do. We want to teach them from the time that they're little boys up to the time that they're teenagers, up to the time that they're in college, so that they'll be white knights, so that they'll go out and they'll defend women, without even thinking about it. They'll be our robots to do exactly what we want them to do. They won't think for themselves. They won't want to do anything but serve us. And you guys know there are some of them out here right now, a lot of them out here that are attacking Passport Bros, attacking Andrew Tate, attacking any man who says anything about a man being treated in a way that is respectful. There's nothing wrong with being a man, but there's a lot of people out here that say that you just being born a man, it's like you're evil. Just from being born a man. Now, there are plenty of places on YouTube where you can look this up where women are saying that. Just like women have been re-educated to think that there is no lockdown definition of what a woman is. I guess it's the same thing with men. Do they hate the men who used to be women the same way that they hate us? I don't know. I don't see that. Everybody's welcomed into the fold as long as they're doing what they want them to do. As long as they're thinking the way that they want them to think. But let's finish this up.
About women's intelligence and calling them intrinsically lazy, Tate's popularity soared. He is also a fervent believer that men should have authority over women when they are in a relationship. In Romania last month, Tate, his brother...
Okay, what's wrong with that? A man should have authority over his household and his wife. That's biblical. But they're saying that that's crazy here, And then they somehow slickly, try to associate him with Harvey Weinstein, by saying this was around the same time that Harvey Weinstein allegations came out. If so many, I don't even want to get into Weinstein, but this is crazy. With outrageous remarks about women's intelligence. Women do some dumb things. Women have done some dumb things. I mean, if you don't think that women have done some dumb things, then, you're probably the only one to think that. Men have done some dumb things. I know plenty of guys who have done super dumb things. I know a lot of women who have done some dumb things and they come back and say, hey, this was completely dumb. I don't know why I did it, but I did it. And they go back and think about why they did what they did over and over and over, and they still can't come to a reasonable conclusion about why they did what they did. But it's as if you can't say anything about a woman, and they're laying it out here. It's out in print. He's also a fervent believer that men should have authority over women when they are in a relationship. Yes, you should. That's the man you chose to lead you. That's the man you chose to be in a relationship with. But we know that the modern woman thinks that, yeah, I chose this man, but still, I want to have a say in every decision that's made. So that means you want to second guess him. You don't really think he's a good leader. You don't think he's a capable person for the role that he is in, that you chose him to be in, which that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But that's what you get time and time again. Yeah, he's my husband, but still, I want to have some say in whatever it is. But he's supposed to pay 100% of everything, but he can't make a decision about the money that he spends, or where he spends it, or what he does it on without consulting with you. When in truth, if he's your husband, he already knows what's good for you. He should know you well enough to where he knows what you're going to need, what you like, because he's had enough conversations with you. But we know that's not the way modern women conduct themselves, because they still withhold information. They only show you the side of themselves that they want you to see. And then they hold in the other stuff, and then they share that with their girlfriends. And their girlfriends taint their minds about how they should basically treat you and what they should be looking for from you. You know, it's all a Real Housewives type of etiquette that these women, these modern women have. You know, and they don't ever want to accept that, but the evidence is out here. You've got, the dating app data. You've got street interviews. You got the tons of women that Kevin Samuels talked to every night that said the same thing over and over and over. And then when you talk to these women who listen to it, they say these women are dumb for going out and saying it. But they said it, and you think that it's true. The things that they said were true, don't you? And they say, yeah, but they're dumb for going on there because he's making them look stupid for saying what they believe and what you believe. And if he's making them look stupid, then you know that what you're doing is wrong. So which is it? Are you some helpless victim, or are you a knowing, a knowledgeable person who is out here taking advantage of a person, trying to make him pay all your bills, feed you, and you get to withhold sex, withhold intimacy, withhold everything that man needs. You only give him just a little bit. It's like a carrot. You hold a little carrot in front of him, and so he'll keep pulling the cart. That's the situation that they want these men to be in. They don't want them to be the masters of their lives. The only person that's supposed to be the masters of their lives are women, apparently. But let's move on. Only got a little bit more left.
Tristan and 2 other men were detained on suspicion of leading a criminal gang that attracted women and held them for sexual exploitation. When Romanian authorities searched his properties, they found evidence that Tate and his brother had allegedly exploited 6 women who had been held in some of his opulent homes like virtual prisoners. On December 30th, he was given the order to spend the next 30 days in a Romanian jail, while the investigation is still underway. Read all the latest news, trending news, cricket news, Bollywood news, Indian news and entertainment news here. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Okay, so you see that? Always at the end of the articles where they talk about the guy, they have to paint them with the brush of criminality. They show show him and his brother being walked through, saying that they were basically abusing these women. It all sounds. You notice how this is like the tactic that they use on everybody.
like a motherless child alone.